Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining Painting with Picasso's Grapevine. My name is Leanna Hahn, and I'll be your host and teacher for today. Today we're going to start off with this really nice, lots of fun, very vibrant painting. This is called Hello Sunshine. It is going to be just kind of a combination of some swirling, some blending. Again, you'll hear that blending term used a lot here on the show. Really practicing that and getting those colors to transition from the lighter into the dark is what we call blending, and that really is going to make a difference between a very successful painting and one that you're just like, not so happy with. But we'll also just kind of be playing with some black paints today, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of henna. Just some nice, cool, fun designs. It's very free form. They can be wherever you want them to be. Just one that you really enjoy and should have a lot of fun with. So as always, we'll start out with a check on what we'll need for today. We're going to be using two paintbrushes, our very large number 12 and a very small number 1. As well, we have acrylic paints, and we'll be using our CAD orange, our CAD yellow, we've got red, and we've got black. So pretty simple, just a few. As always, make sure that you have a dab rag, and that'll be very important when you are washing off your paintbrushes. We don't want any paint, any water to drip onto your canvas when you take your paintbrush there. And as well, a cup of water to make sure everything is washed off and nice and clean. So to kick it off, we kind of take a look at our painting, decide what's first. So what's the background, what's the foreground, where do we start? So this is really kind of I'm gonna say like a one-dimensional painting. So we're just gonna be working on our background, get all those cool blended colors together, and then we'll start playing with some of the designs in black. So nice and easy. So to kick that off, I'm gonna grab my very large paintbrush, dip that in water, make sure we dab it off on our dab rag. So I'm going to go ahead and start from left to right, and truly there's no wrong way to do this. If you choose to start from this side moving forward, from the yellow to the red, either. So whichever your preference is. I'm going to move from this side of the canvas, moving on. To do so, I've grabbed some red on my paintbrush, and I'm just going to start off. Just keeping very broad strokes, and staying with the motion or outer outline of the sun. So we'll go ahead and get some on there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash this off and get the majority of that red off the paintbrush, dab it off, and I'm going to move into the orange. Now I'm going to start by placing an outer circle around that red, just to get your paint on the canvas, really. And then I'm going to move back up into the red. And you'll notice you start to mix the two together. And you get this kind of in-between color. So we're not going to go all the way deeply into red, just close enough so we can start to blend the two. And then we kind of move it out. So that's kind of the secret when you're doing some blending. You start with the color right next to it. Very important, make sure both of these paints are wet. That's when you're going to get a good blend-in activity. Then move in, grab some of that paint, and then move out again. So you kind of end up again with this in-between color, which is perfect. You really don't see that very harsh line of when one becomes the other. And we like that. That's kind of the look we're looking for. Ooh, I grabbed some black. So what we're going to do, and actually this is a good mistake to kind of catch. So if you get any of the bad colors on there that you don't want, a lot of times a very quick move with your rag will remove that. Get as much as you can off. Remove that, and then make sure you clean off your brush. Get rid of any extra of the wrong color that you don't want. Grab your paints and then continue on. So, happens quite often. It's actually a good way to teach you how to fix some of those mistakes. And just watch your palette so the tips of your brush don't pick up the wrong color, just as mine did. All right. So I think we've got a good amount of orange on there. So let's do this. Let's go ahead, wash off that brush, and we're going to move into our third and final color, which is the yellow. So again, let's kind of start with a much larger arc. And because yellow is so light, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit more work on finishing the outside arc before I move in and transition and start blending those two together. Just keeping those strokes moving consistent with the shape. Now I notice a lot of people sometimes they'll just put their brush stroke anywhere on the canvas just to place down some of that paint just to get it on there. That's fine. Once you have good coverage and you feel good with how much paint you have on, make sure that you take the time to make those final strokes. I kind of call them cleaning up strokes, where you go through and you take your stroke all the way up and off the canvas. So that way you erase any of your starts and stops. So it looks like one smooth transition, and it looks a little bit more polished as well. All right. So we've got enough yellow on the outside, so let's go ahead and start transitioning those two colors. To do so, I'm adding some more yellow, closer to the orange, and we're going to do the same thing we did with the orange and the red. We're going to jump up into that orange, blend the two, and as you see, we get a nice transition there. And then we kind of bring it out. You can play with that and make it as wide or as tight as you like. This is kind of the sun, or our version of the sun. So kind of have fun with that. There we go. Nice. Again, if there's any last cleanup strokes, go ahead and do that with very large top to bottom strokes. Let them fall off the canvas so you don't see where your starts and stops are. So with that, we're going to transition over into our tiny little brush. Let's dab that in. Now, one of the things that I try to caution people with tiny brushes especially is if you have a tiny brush and you push very hard, you're going to get a very large line. So play with it, get familiar with how much pressure you need to put on your brush. So quite frequently what I'll do is I'll put my brush in here, swirl it, kind of pull it out, get rid of a lot of that extra paint on there, and then we'll just kind of start. So this is going to be just a fun combination of different strokes, different designs. It almost kind of reminds me of a mandala with all those cool, intricate designs. So we've got our first little line on the sun here. Let's go ahead and bring in another. Now, if you're having trouble getting your paints to move across the canvas, what you can do is you can add a little bit of water, and especially with black. When they create the color black, they use a lot of charcoal, so it's very heavy, it dries very quickly, and a lot of times you have a challenge with getting those nice fine lines. So adding water will help liquefy it and help you get your small paintbrush to move more fluidly across the canvas. So let's kind of decide, let's do some nice little designs here. Very simplistic. The beauty is in the continuous repetitive pattern as we carry that across our sun. And then let's bring in another one. There you go. And we'll have some fun with some swirls, perhaps. Okay, so let's have another inside. Let's kind of make that one solid. Just kind of free form, not really specific. Every time I paint this painting, I kind of make it a little bit different. So I add in different designs, I add in more designs, less designs. We'll add some dots here. There you go. And then let's go with, we'll start some swirls. This is kind of the rays of the sun. We'll let them kind of build up. And just let them kind of grow. Now as well, don't feel like you have to see every piece of this line. In its beauty, not seeing every element of each line is in itself very attractive. If you are trying very hard to go over that same line, you're going to find that it's going to be very wiggly, very wobbly, not stable. So I find the quicker you go, the better your results are. So just moving quickly across the canvas. Each time I'm taking my paintbrush back to the palette, adding some more, making sure I have enough. And we'll add some more fleur-de-lis, kind of some swishes, some swirls. So again, every time you do this painting, let it be creative and different and enjoyable, and just have fun with it. Well, hopefully you've actually had some opportunity to learn something new, and maybe this is a really nice, easy one, give you some courage to try something at home you've never tried before. If you'd like to learn more about these types of paintings, send us an email to info@picassosgrapevine.com. Thank you for joining us.